Boxing King Media, powered by the RIYADH season and BYD, the promoter of Dimitri Bivol. I bet you're bored of that, aren't you?
I love that. Everyone's really running with it this week, you know. Finally,
Actually true.
oh, look, I'm giving Eddie the week to have his. He can be in all the pictures and everything, can do the press conference, but I'll let him have his moment with Dimitri Bivol. No, do you know what? I've just got I've had a great relationship with him for a long time. You know, we've had him as well, who manages a number of fighters that we work with. And we've been on a great journey. It all started really with the Canelo fight. You know, Eddie was obviously very close with Canelo, so I took the role of being Bivol's number one man. So, you know, I'm 1-0 against Canelo, and personally this is, and I'm about to have my first undisputed champion of the world, but I will let Eddie have the pictures with him, and I'll just have one in the changing room after.
Fair play, mate. Too humble. I tell you, I don't know how well you know Bivol. I spoke to him about his childhood and his fears in recent weeks. I don't know if you've seen any of the stuff I've done with him, but I don't know if you know or not, but his dad used to like grow onions on a farm, and it's random as hell that used to have an onion farm in Kyrgyzstan before they emigrated to Russia.
I didn't know that. I'll be honest with you. You know, like, because his English got a lot better over recent times, and actually spending time with him, he's a really good character to be around, a good laugh, good to spend time with. But he's been on a journey to get to this point now. You know, this is his moment that he's been working his whole life for. You know, Canelo fight was obviously a massive occasion for him, but I don't think anything's come close to this in terms of his own dreams and desires of where he wants to get to. This is the moment he's been waiting for, and it's finally here. And there was many times as well where I didn't think that this fight would be possible, and I think, you know, without RIYADH season it definitely wouldn't have happened. So, you know, I'm just glad it's finally here. Been a long time waiting, and on Saturday night we see an undisputed light heavyweight champion of the world, and that man is Dimitri Bivol.
Sounds like you're reading a script, that, you know.
No, it's all right.
Is it? All right. And, do you know what he's afraid? Did you? Do you know what he's afraid of the most?
Spiders.
And snakes.
Yeah. I mean, aren't most people? Yeah, like, there's not many people. I think you're a bit weird or sadistic or whatever the word is if you're really a big fan of spiders and snakes.
I asked Arthur the same question, and he said, I thought he said flies, as in flies, and he was bugging me for the last 24 hours. How can a guy like him be scared of flies? He actually meant flying.
A lot of people are scared of flying as well. I can understand it. You know, like, now when I get on a plane, I try and go to sleep, right, as soon as I get on a plane, right? So like this. And you know that feeling of when you're taking off and you have no idea, you know, when you've sort of left the ground, but you have no idea whether the plane could be in the air or heading towards. But I think it's quite a, you know, if you think too much about it, it makes it quite scary, especially when you fly a lot.
Yeah. Do you do any prayers or anything before it lifts off, or do you say anything?
No, I'll be honest with you, I'm not a religious, like a real religious person. I don't like to think some people would say yes there. I don't do any prayers.
Have you seen, because you come on Saudi Airlines, they play something before every takeoff, and you probably memorized it by the amount of times you've been on Saudi Airlines now.
Yeah. My memory's terrible at the minute as well.
You know what I'm on about though, yeah?
Yeah. No, I just think, I hope we get there okay, to be honest.
Yeah, but I would be thinking that considering how many flights you've caught. So, you know, the actual fighting itself, if you said percentages wise, and see if you can be honest here now, is it 50-50, or are you saying 60-40, 55-45, what are you saying?
But I think when the best are fighting the best, it has to be 50-50. You know, like, you shouldn't be able to pick a winner. You know, this is a fight that on both sides, people say BETERBIEV, people say Bivol. They've got two completely different styles. As I always say to you, I'm not the boxing tactician. I'm not going to sit here and say this is the way Dimitri Bivol wins this fight. But I think every time Dimitri Bivol steps up into a challenge where he's challenging himself, where he's testing himself, you see the best of Dimitri Bivol. And as I said before, this is the moment that he's been working towards his whole life to get to. And that is why you will see the best of him. I think at times, not just with him, but with other fighters of his level, the motivation is tough when you're stepping down. But, you know, when you're in there with the best, like when he was in with Canelo Alvarez, you see the best from him. And I think you'll see that on Saturday night. I truly believe Dimitri Bivol wins on Saturday night, but it is a 50-50 in a sense that with high level sport, and it's a bit like we talk about, and I'm sure we'll talk about Joshua later, it should be close, it should be real fights, because otherwise what are we all doing there? Like, if there was no intrigue, if there was no interest, if there was no chance of people losing, you wouldn't have a job, I wouldn't have a job, it would be useless. So yeah, and that's why it's a fight that everyone has been pushing for and waiting so long to see. And I think it's finally also getting the respect of a more casual audience outside of just the boxing hardcore.
It is, definitely is. And also on the undercard is, somebody we spoke about the other week, Chris. Obviously, we don't need to speak about his opponent because the majority of the predictions are that Chris will stop him at some point. But I just want to ask you, has there been any developments in your relationship with him? Because I know we spoke last week, and you said he was not going to air your laundry in public, and the fans kind of appreciated that. I was reading the comments, and you've never had so many positive comments on a Frank Smith interview. So you've got like a new fan base as well, people who liked you just keeping it quiet. But has there been any improvements on that? Have you spoken?
No, not really. I think, as I said in that interview as well, at the time on that day or the day before, it was all quite fresh. And I'm not an emotional person when it comes to the business of boxing. I can, if you're emotional in this business, if you're paranoid, if you're worried about what people say, you're in the wrong sport, right? That's first and foremost. You shouldn't be in it. You've got to be thick-skinned, got to let everything go over, because at the end of the day, it's a business where there's a lot of people talking. There's a lot of people talking shit. I think that was different. In my personal life, in my family life, I'm a different character, a very different character to what I'm in business. Two whole different worlds apart,
I'd love to crack into Frank Smith's mind, because I feel like you put on like a, not in a bad way, but like a persona when you're in boxing mode.
No, I think it's something Eddie laughs at all the time. I'm one of the happiest people you can meet, in terms of I actually am happy. There's no issues. There's a lot of people who suffer from tough times mentally, and in this world we're in now, it's tough times we're in. For a lot of people, and I'm in my head in a great place, and I don't really let emotion get in the way. Definitely when it comes to business, right? As in, who gives it? When it comes to business, could be gone tomorrow. I could be gone tomorrow. I'm replaceable. So why? As long as my mentality, as long as I did everything I could, as long as I'm content, from a moral standpoint, that I'm in the right, and I don't really respect or take on people's opinions that I don't care about, but don't respect, if that makes sense. If I like you and I think you're a nice guy, but you think I'm a wanker, I'd like to understand why you think that and have a conversation with you about it, right? But a lot of people in boxing have a view on you, don't know you. A lot of people in interviews will have a view on me, say useless, hasn't got a clue what he's doing. It doesn't really affect me, because they don't know me. If they had that view and they knew me and they'd been around me and they worked with me, I'd probably have a different perception. But at the same time, I'm not too fussed. Not in a bad way, not that arrogant, but it's you can't chase happipness and everyone else getting approval from everyone else, because you're never going to get it. Not everyone's going to like you as well. I think the other week it's very different. It's personal, and when it's personal with me, I have a different view. So family is family, whether blood, whatever. I've been around the family a long time, but I'd never use this. I'd never say a bad word. It's not my personality. I'd have a conversation with anyone and give my view. Don't have to agree with it. But he hasn't said anything to me. He hasn't spoken to me. I haven't seen him this week to have a conversation with him. I doubt I'll have a conversation with him about it.
If you just walk past, do you guys just look at each other and look the other way, or is it like a hello handshake type thing?
I don't know. I haven't seen him. I haven't said anything in this whole thing for him to have ill feelings, if you know what I mean. I've never. Don't get me wrong. I've said things about people in interviews before where I go, fair enough. You can have an opinion on me, or you can not want to talk to. I get that. With him, I've never had that. So it's a bit different. He has a view, whether it's a view that's been formed by people creating a narrative. I don't know. If that's his opinion. That's his opinion, and I don't appreciate that. I don't agree with it, but you're never going to keep everyone happy. And we could go into the back and forth of the whole situation of it, and I can give my view, and other people within his team can give their view of my position in it all, and the way I was around it all, and the way, during that week, it was a hard week for me personally as well. And there's people who are amongst it who can, if they ever wanted to talk about it, give you the honest view about it. It's never been my position though to speak openly about it, because I kind of separate the two, and you have to separate the two, because if I was emotional in business, it'd be the wrong business to be in. So I don't know. Let's see how this week goes. I'm not looking to say anything that causes friction. At the end of the day, it's family. Things are said. I get on with it. I'm a big boy.
Well, I'm sure if there's any argy bargy, I'm pricking Chris every day, every second, unless I've seen you throw hands once. It didn't go down too well. But yeah, I hope you guys sort it out either way. Sky Nicholson fighting on the card. How much pressure do you think she is? In fact, both women fighters to put on a show, because it's the first female fight in part of Riyadh season, and how important is it that they both put on a show and make it exciting for fans?
100%. Look, and I think, taken away from female boxing, it's about entertainment, this business. It's about entertaining people. It's about people wanting to tune in and see great fights. It's a huge moment. First female world title fight in Saudi Arabia. So a huge moment for the sport. But yeah, they need to deliver. But I think we'll finally get a win over Queensbury.
Interesting fight. You're saying finally, but in all the ones that you've lost against Queensbury, which one were you the most shocked about? Be honest. One that you thought 100%, no matter what, we are going to win.
Do you know what? I really thought that Craig Richards would beat Willie Hutchinson. And I thought, well, yeah, you asked for one, so there you go, there's one.
That's a fair comment. I think, to be fair, it shows how good that win was, wasn't it? Because I think pretty much everyone had Craig winning that fight. And I was just reading some other stuff that came up. Apparently there's a legal case going on between Tasman fighters and Matchroom with some Olympian Tia Mona Jr. Are you the best person to speak to about that, or Eddie Hearn?
No legal case between us and Tasman fighters. We work with them on a number of fights. Obviously, Justice Huni, Jaya Pataya. I've just been with Mick Francis upstairs as well earlier today. So no legal case between us and Tasman fighters.
It's in the Australian Daily News or something like that. I just saw an article the other day. And then the Tyson Fury interview the other day, I'm sure you would have seen it, where he's talked about AJ and saying that no matter what, we're going to fight each other, whether he's 50, whether he's had 10 losses, etc. So you've had a few weeks to kind of obviously digest what happened at Wembley. Is the decision still kind of just waiting, or are you, if AJ says I want to fight Dubois, are you guys going to talk him out of it, or are you going to just go with it?
No, look, obviously AJ is the boss. He has always been the boss, and that's how it should work. He's the one getting in there. He's the one taking the punches. I personally think the Daniel Dubois fight is the right fight. And by the way, I've never agreed more with Tyson Fury in something, in terms of that fight has to happen between him and Anthony Joshua. But regardless of results, regardless of history, that fight is one of the biggest fights in the sport. It's a fight people have called for years. So it doesn't matter what happens in between time. That's a fight that needs to happen. So I agree with him completely on that. I think the Daniel Dubois fight is the right fight to take. AJ has shown time and time again he doesn't shy away from challenges. He's not nervous. He wants the biggest fights. People talk about motivation. This is the guy that could have retired many years ago if he wasn't motivated. This is a guy that in that first round when he got caught by that huge shot could have just said, you know what, I don't really need this. He's a guy, he's got so much fight in him. He wants to prove he's the best. He came back after the Ruiz fight, got that win straight after. He came back after the Alexander Usyk fight and went straight back in and had a better performance the second time round. It's such a fickle sport we work in, where people say he's finished. But Daniel Dubois was finished when he got beat by Joe Joyce. And look at what he's gone on to do. Anthony Joshua got beat by Alexander Usyk. People said he was finished. He got beat by, pound for pound, one of the best in the sport of current day. And people now, one of the questions I got asked was around stylistically, can he beat him? But stylistically before, everyone said he could beat him. He just got beat by the better man on the night. Daniel Dubois was the better man on the night. Got caught with a great shot in the first round, never recovered, was never the same. But no excuses. That's high-level sport.
I've got a hypothetical question for you here. See how you answer this one. Let's just say AJ waits out, Fury beats Usyk. How on earth do you negotiate a fight with Fury with all the belts and AJ coming off a loss? Because before there was issues about percentages, 60-40. Where does that conversation even start?
I guess there's a few different ways of looking at it. The way what Riyadh season has been great for is taking away from that politics of X, Y, Z. It's like, do you deal with you? Do you deal with you? Is everyone happy? Yep, forget about everything else. There's no one really in between. But I think we can get around that. But I think at the same time, there's going to be a lot more in this whole journey and ride in between. And, you only have to look at fight by fight. Tyson Fury's got to go back in there in that rematch against Alexander Usyk, and they can all beat each other. AJ can beat Daniel Dubois. And then what? You got the undisputed between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua next year. You know, like there's so many permutation, there's so many routes that this can go down. I think it's exciting. Whatever way you look at it, great fights are going to be made. Win, lose, draw. Great fights are going to be made in the sport.
Indeed, they are. Last question I've got for you. I'm going to ask you what I asked a lot of the fighters yesterday. What's Frank Smith's worst fears, phobias, fears, whatever?
You know what? As I get older, being in the sea, I get proper freaked out. Not just sharks, but like, yeah, just like crap. You know, like, you know, you're ever in the sea and you just feel like, oh, something touched me.
It happens a lot in America.
Yeah, and I'm like, that is creeping me out a lot more than historically would have done. And I was away the last few days and they said there's been sharks in there. I was like, oh my god, there's sharks everywhere. They like hot water sharks. Didn't know that. You learn something new every day, but the water, the sea, has been a bit more freaking me out recently.
Because Frank Smith is afraid of the sea. Frank, thank you, and yeah, looking forward to an exciting week ahead as Jaya Pattaya walks past. Thank you.